I am Linda Fantilba for National Security News. Ionir, an Israeli software company, has developed a revolutionary computer cloud data storage system which has the potential of putting cyber hackers out of business. And with us in the NSN studio to discuss this is the CEO, Jacob Cherian, and his Vice President, or Sagi. So, Jacob, can we start off by explaining what exactly Ionir does?
So, Ionir is container native storage, and it is a multi-cloud and hybrid cloud storage and data platform. So that's what we do at a very high level. And our goal is to be able to support applications, enterprise applications, across any cloud, which is Amazon, Google, Microsoft, or a customer's private cloud. So that's kind of the scope of what we do. And the intersection with cybersecurity is that when we designed this product, we were looking at what's happening in the market in terms of malware and ransomware. And what we felt was the existing solutions were basically focused on preventing ransomware or malware intrusion into systems. And there were a lot of companies that could basically come in and help you fix your systems once you had an intrusion, to remediate the malware, remove the malware code. But most of these companies, actually, there was really no good solution when it came to data, because malware and ransomware tends to go into data, and data is the most important thing in the company. You can lose your applications, it's downtime. If you lose your data, you might as well just pack up and go home. Right? And so most of the solutions that people were using for protection against malware and ransomware are traditional data protection solutions. And the problem with that was two things. One is you lose a lot of data when you have to restore from one of these solutions. And the second problem was it takes too long to get back to up and running. And in many ransomware cases, even if you have a backup, there's a lot of money that is wasted in terms of the amount of resources that are required to get you back up and running. So if you look at the example of the hospital system that was attacked in the UK, or the attack in the US, the car dealerships, the software that manages car dealerships in the US, it took them weeks to get back to up and running because it takes a long time to restore systems. And so that's another thing we focused on, which is we said there is really an intersection of data storage and cybersecurity. And that intersection is because of this importance of data and the fact that so many of these cyber intrusions seem to go after data. And the goal there is denial of access to storage, right? Which is you lose access to storage, which means your business stops running. You can shut down a server, but you can always bring it back. You can reinstall the server. But if you lose your data, if you are denied access to data, that is a big problem for a business. And that's the other thing that we do, which is in addition to providing the storage platform on which our customers can store their data, we have a unique capability that allows you to recover data at 1 second granularity.
So if I get hacked at, say, 3 p.m. in the afternoon, you can go back and go to 2:59 and get all my data that I backed up.
2:59:59, not 2:59 p.m., 2:59:59. Right? So 1 second before we can go get you back the data. And then from that, once you have a copy of the data, then it's your internal operational processes that are, whatever you have to bring your applications up and running, you apply that and you're back up and running very quickly. And so that's the value that we shorten that time of downtime, and we also minimize. There's nobody who can do it better than us. 1 second is just not achievable today in the market. We can basically get you back the data 1 second before your intrusion.
So this is a massive saving in time and money then, effectively. So we'll say if that American car dealership, which was offline for weeks, had employed your technology, how quickly do you think they could have been up and running?
They would have been able to get the data back within seconds. Then it is a question of how the applications are designed to enable them to bring the applications back up. So if it took weeks, it probably would have taken them hours to bring the back up.
Yeah, Sean, I just want to touch on your point about this saving a lot of money. It's true, but it's not just money. If we look at the intersection between what's been going on with cyber attacks and healthcare, for example, and if I look, I think a month ago I read in the UK about people needing to go not the kind of surgeries, different kinds of surgeries, what they were planning because of the cyber attack on Q Island. Okay, we are talking, people's lives and basically well-being here. Being able to resume service and go back to business is has effect on real effect on real people.
So this is quite a revolutionary development in terms of protecting companies, corporations, and governments from cyber attacks.
I think this is where we want to be careful, right? Because we don't prevent the attack. See, if you think of what enterprises need to think about, they really need to have a three-pronged strategy. The first one is, how do you prevent things from getting? That's putting locks on your doors, bars on your windows. Even if you have that, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have insurance. So, right, so it's kind of a three-pronged strategy. You need to be able to prevent things from coming in. So that's one set of tools that you need to have. Right? And there is a lot of tools today that focus on that. So a lot of people focused on, hey, we will make sure that no malware gets into your system. No defensive system is foolproof, which is why we have all these attacks. It's not because these companies don't have the tools. It's because malware manages to evade them. It's an arms race. Every day somebody's building new malware. There's malware as service. There's all these new trends. And so this is the arms race between the people who are trying to defend against malware and the people who are building it. So you have to assume that there's always going to be an intrusion. You're going to set the bar high so that not every piece of malware, which means you grind to a halt, but something someday is going to get it. Then once it's in, there's two tracks of recovery that you need to go after. One is you might have your systems infected with code that is infected with malware. So there's that whole process of remediating your applications, fixing your systems, right? So that's one part. Now, when it comes to malware and ransomware, and there's also ransomware, which is now not just ransomware. Even if you pay a ransom, it just deletes your data. So you might never get your data back, right? So there's a lot of malware that today says, well, it pretends to be malware, ransomware, but it just comes in and deletes your data. And then, if you're foolish, you might end up paying your ransom and never get back your data. So now the third part is what to do with your data. Data is the most important thing in the business. Your applications can be rerun. Your servers can be replaced. You lose your data, you're starting from zero. So there are existing systems that provide, the legacy systems that provide data protection. People are taking backups. People might be taking snapshots. But the problem with all these are you lose a lot of data when you have to resort to using those existing data protection tools. And the second problem is it takes a long time to get you back up and running. And that's a big disruption to the business. And so what we're promising is we can get you, and so in that third area of recovering data, protecting your data, we offer 1 second granularity recovery, and you can do that instantaneously. There is no separate platform that needs to be deployed because your applications are running on our platform. That's why we said we're a storage platform primarily, with the additional benefit of providing the cybersecurity capability of being able to recover data at very, very fine granularity if there were to be a successful intrusion.
Yeah, so I want to go back to what Jacob said about us being a software-defined storage platform. So we're a cloud-scale storage platform. You can deploy us either on any public cloud or on your private cloud, and the question of how much data you can store on us is infinite. The only factor you need to decide is just how much resources you give our storage platform. Okay, and it scales and it allows you to scale the amount of data you want to store infinitely.
Can I ask a question about generally about this kind of attack, ransomware? How is it it seems to be more prevalent now. You hear very often now very big organizations are paying millions, of dollars for ransomware attack? Is it on the increase?
Linda, it's not just an increase in reporting, it is an increase in the attacks on pretty much every industry I can think of.
And are they successful? Are they actually being paid? And sometimes companies won't even reveal that they are being paid.
Absolutely. I think the numbers say last year there were 5,070 entities successfully attacked with ransomware. That's from CyberRay, which is a company that tracks this. By 2030, the annual cost due to ransomware is going to be $250 billion.
Yeah, and Linda, I expect whichever company can keep it a secret will do so. Just the reputational damage, especially if they're in an industry that doesn't have regulatory requirements to report breaches. Reputational damage is also significant here.
A lot of systems today, processes that you have for recovery are, you kind of use what you always had for disaster recovery. So there, you were planning for an eventuality that could happen that never was supposed to happen. But with cyber, it's much more frequent, and there is a lot many more people who are losing the data, who are losing billions of dollars, right, because of loss of access to data, which then means that their operations come to a stop. Therefore, there needs to be maturity model, and this becomes even more important in regulated industries, finance and healthcare. Right? What is the cost to the consumer from these systems being down for an extended period of time? So if you can build that maturity model and you can kind of compare the different solutions that are available, you can also use that to measure how good your infrastructure is, how resilient it is against an intrusion. So that's something that we put, and again, here, because we offer something that is very, very unique, we're pretty sure that you're on with us. There's nobody who can do 1 second graph.
Internally, we joke that I'd like to see this maturity model on companies and enterprises like there's a health inspection rating on restaurants.
Yep, exactly.
If I gave you the choice of two healthcare providers, one with a cyber resilient infrastructure and the other without, assuming all other things being equal, I know which one I choose.
So is that one of your major areas that you focus on, healthcare services?
Well, healthcare has become more important because there's the sheer number of statistical attacks. It's in the news every day. There are websites that track it. It's just crazy how many healthcare systems are being attacked, how many people are losing data, how many systems are being taken down, how doctors are going back to writing, managing things using paper and pencil. It's crazy.
Can you give us possibly examples of where you saved a company a lot of money, or saved something like a health service a lot of money or time and the data?
So the core technology behind Ionir, what we call backdating, which is this ability to go back in time, that was created at a company which was the predecessor of Ionir. So there's a company called Reduxio that basically shipped a lot of products, and then for various reasons there was not a path forward for Reduxio, and that's when Or and I we went and took the technology of Reduxio, and then we created Ionir around that course. So the first one is a police department in New England. The city was attacked by ransomware, and you can think of a city in New England being attacked by ransomware, and somebody asked them for Bitcoin, and the IT administrator was just so green that he said, "I don't even know what Bitcoin is." So let's start from there, right? So you can think of an environment which is where people really are not that sophisticated. When the police department heard about this, they said, we had to go look for a solution. And so by chance, they saw a product, they bought a product. 3 months after they were deployed, they were attacked by ransomware, and 911 was down, all the emergency services were down. They were able to bring it up within 30 minutes. So there's a video that they recorded. I can share that with you. It's on YouTube. So that's one example. the other one is there's a company in Israel, development shop, people writing code. At the end of the day, they basically have a ransomware attack. It's a malware attack. All their systems are down, and the main system that they were concerned about was the system that stores their source code. And so when I looked at it, all the source code was gone, right? And so they said, well, we have backup, so let's look at what we can get from backup. But their backup was a day old because they do backup every day, every night. So backup was a day old. They had 60 people on staff, so they would have lost 60 times 8 hours worth of work. And in Israel, nobody works 8 hours. People work 10 hours. So you could think of 60 and 10 hours of work that was lost. They called us up. They knew that we had the capability, but they didn't know how to use it. It's pretty simple to use, but they had never bothered to look at it. They called our support up. We were able to recover them to within 30 minutes. We actually have a call log of our support guy taking the call to when they said, we're up and running, and that whole process took 30 minutes. They lost 1 minute of data. So the difference is between 10 hours of data versus 1 minute of data.
You are an Israeli company. How challenging is the present environment for tech companies like you?
It is challenging. Okay, it's in many ways it's been a rough year. We've got people all over Israel. Some of them, luckily, we didn't have employees that were impacted personally in the initial attacks, but Israel has suffered a lot of turmoil over the last year, and it even people spent several months at home. No daycare, frequent missile attacks a day. It's been rough. Having said that, and I do realize it sounds like a cliche, but we are hardy people. I mean, while this is the most extreme state we've been in a while, it's not the first time. And people find meaning in their work. So I think it even surprised me a bit. People would call me, finish, head up from the bomb shelter and get back on a Zoom to resume the design discussion we were having. Okay, people really find meaning in what they do. And this is as banal as it sounds. This is our country. This is what we have.
And how does it affect you dealing with the outside world? I mean, because there is a fierce campaign, in some quarters against Israel. So how do you find your customers? How do they experience this?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure there's been a big impact of that. I think that we rarely get a conversation that says when we talk to customers, hey, you're Israeli and I have something to say about the politics in Israel. I think that the quarters, the places where type of customers we deal with, or people are more focused on the problem and the solution. I think politics takes a backseat, and then maybe we've been lucky, and I'm sure that there is broader impact to Israeli companies from kind of what's happening. At least for us, we've been lucky. People are focused on what we have to. Or would you agree?
Completely. Discussions have been professional. I will say that I actually think I've heard more people reminiscing about their visits to Tel Aviv and what an amazing place it is since October 7th. So we might have been extremely lucky, but I've had no negative responses, and I've had quite a few supportive statements from customers and prospects, which is heartwarming, to be honest. That's
Jacob and thank you so much for speaking to us.
Well,
thank you.